Hello, welcome back to some 1947 Strat-O-Matic baseball. I had a good one coming up tonight, so I thought I would put it on the channel. It's the Cincinnati Reds at the St. Louis Cardinals, and going for the Reds will be Ewell Blackwell, who has already pitched a shutout against the St. Louis Cardinals on the channel on opening day, and so I thought I would do this one. He will be going against Jim Hearn for the Cardinals. The Reds are 6-5. They've won 4 in a row. They swept a series in Chicago against the Cubs. The Cardinals have lost 2 in a row. They're 4-5, and of course, coming off their World Series championship in 1946. So, of course, they didn't repeat in 47 as the Brooklyn Dodgers won it in real life. So, again, we'll get a chance to see if Ewell Blackwell can get the second shutout against the Cardinals. He got a no decision in his last start. So I will be managing the Reds for this game. Again, I have some favorites that I manage most of the time. I like doing the Braves. Anybody that's playing the Yankees. Nothing against the Yankees, but they got off to a good hot start, and so I didn't want them to run away with it. So I was seeing what I could do about that. So here we are at beautiful Sportsman's Park. So leading off for the Reds will be Frankie Baumholtz. And again, pitching for the Cardinals is Jim Hearn. Get to my thing here. So Jim Hearn is 0-1 with a 2 ERA so far. He had a pretty good 1947 as he was 47. He was 12-7 with a save with a 3.22 ERA. All right, so Frankie Baumholtz is the rookie. Right fielder is hitting .320 with an RBI so far. He does have a triple to his credit. And here we go from Sportsman's Park. That's a 6-11, and that'll be a ground ball down to third as Baumholtz slaps it the other way. But Whitey Karowski will corral it. At least I think he will. Oh, Frankie Baumholtz is a lefty. I was looking at the righty. So got to get and that's rolled a 20, so that's actually a line out to second. So that'll be hit to Shane Deast, who stabs it for out number 1. Brings up Bobby Adams to the plate, who is mostly a rookie. He did have some plate appearances last year. His first 2 at-bats of the year this year, he hit back-to-back home runs. So that's the way to start off the year. So he's hitting .455 in 11 at-bats, getting limited playing time. So that's a 1-8, and he needs an 8 to get a single and got a 6. So he continues his hot ways. Hey, Dave. Welcome. Enjoyed the hockey game, by the way. You kind of gave me the itch to pull out my Strat-O-Matic hockey. I've been getting a few requests for that. So Adams is, if he can get a lead, is a decent hand to steal. Hearn holds at a -3. Garagiola has a +1 arm, so we'll see if Adams can get the lead. He does not, so we won't attempt it. So that'll bring Grady Hatton to the plate. Of course, as you've heard in some of my other ones, Grady Hatton, up until this point in baseball history, had the highest signing bonus of any player ever, as he was signed for $25,000. The Brooklyn Dodgers offered more, but he decided to go with the Reds. So far in the replay, however, he's hitting .187 with a home run and 3 RBIs. That's a 4-6, and he's going to draw a walk. His 10th of the year. So he is getting on base some with the base on balls. So Hearn not able to find the strike zone, and Reds will have runners on first and second with one out. For the shortstop, Eddie Miller, who is hitting .220 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Batting cleanup today. Babe Young, who typically bats cleanup, is on the bench getting some rest. That's a 6-6, and that's going to be hit hard down to Marty Marion, who will flip it on to Shane Dees, on to Musial. 6-4-3 double play. So that'll take care of the Reds here in the first. Cardinals do have fine defense, especially up the middle. No runs, a hit, no errors. They leave on 1. We've played half an inning. Cincinnati nothing. St. Louis coming to bat. Again, Ewell Blackwell is 1-0 with a 2.37 ERA. As mentioned earlier, he is already through a shutout against these Cardinals in Cincinnati. So he will see if he can duplicate that feat here in St. Louis. So leading off will be Red Shane Dees, who's hitting .308, 3 RBIs. 4-7. He's a lefty, 1-15. He needs for a single, and he got a 15. So Shane Dees will lead off with a base hit. He slaps it up the middle. Past Blackwell and into center field. Tatum will throw it back into second. Shane Dees will retreat to first. Let's see. Blackwell holds at a +2. Lamano, the catcher, is a -2, so they break even. Shane Dees is out automatically on a 10 and 11. Terry Moore, due up next, is a B bunter, so I'm thinking they possibly will bunt. So I will hold Shane Dees, and then we will play the corners in. See what Cardinals do. So Moore does indeed square to bunt. We can throw for the lead runner. He's safe 1-14, so I'm going to get the shore out at first, as Blackwell will walk it over to Kress. So Terry Moore with a successful sac bunt. 1-3 for out number 1. Now we'll put Shane Dees on second, who runs at a 16. So, hey Tony, welcome. So we got Stan Musial, who was out for a couple games with an injury. Again, this game I'm doing as carded, and so I'm doing the super advanced injuries. And so this set does have the individual pitcher error, or pitcher injury ratings rather. So of course, this being brand new, it has all the bells and whistles, which I kind of like. So Stan Musial is hitting .222, 4 RBIs. So he had a very good year, not as good as he normally has, but so far in the replay, he's off to a slow start. So we will set our infield back to normal depth. Stan Musial will take his spot in the left-handed batter's box. Well, this is a good matchup, isn't it? Ewell Blackwell versus Stan Musial. Red Shane Dees on second. Here's the pitch. 3-6. He needs a 13 to get a hit, and he got a 10. But that's a 1-star single, so Shane Dees will hold up at third. And the Cardinals are so far doing much better than they did on opening day versus Ewell Blackwell. So that's lined out to center field. Shane Dees has to hold up to see if Tatum will get to it. He does it, so he will only make it to third. And the Cardinals have him on the corners with one away. Now bring up the third baseman, Whitey Korowski. He's hitting .353, a couple RBIs, 5 doubles. So I think we will do the corners. So we'll try for the double play up the middle. If it's hit to third or second, or third or first rather, we'll see if we can cut Shane Dees off at the plate. It's pretty early. I'm going to play the infield back. Let's just play for the double play totally here. All right. So Ewell Blackwell looks into the sign from Lamano. The Reds are playing the infield back. Musial on first. Shane Deast on third. Whitey Karowski at the plate. That's a 5-6, and he strikes out. So big strikeout there for Ewell Blackwell. Fastball down and away, and catches the corner. So Karowski will head back to the dugout dejected, and that's 2 away. Enos Slaughter, another Hall of Famer, will step up to the plate. He's hitting .359, a home run, 7 RBIs. Let's see, we're not holding on Musial. Let me look at his card and see if I need to be. Nope, he doesn't have the star. 7, he gets the lead. 11, he's automatically out, so that they may try to steal, but we'll gonna play behind him. He does try to get a lead, and Musial's not able to, so Slaughter will hit away. In a clutch situation, Slaughter's 2-9 turns to a single, so he does have some ability in the clutch. That's a 5-5, and he strikes out. So how about that? Cardinals threaten with runners on the corner, and Ewell Blackwell proceeds to strike out Whitey Karowski and then Nina Slaughter. And that'll do it for the Cardinals in the first. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, 2 left. We've played 1 inning here in St. Louis, no score. So leading off for Cincinnati will be the left fielder Eddie Lucan, who's just had 1 at bat so far this year. He's getting some playing time today. Left-handed hitter versus the right-handed Hearn. Here is the pitch from Hearn, and that's a 2-9. That's a slow roller out to second base. Shane D will charge it, play it on the short hop, fire on the Musial, route number 1. Ray Lamano, who was out for a couple games with injury, is back into the game today, hitting .208 with an RBI. Hey, Gerald, welcome. Yeah, the whip's great. I love watching, quote unquote, watching him pitch. He's a lot of fun to watch. That's a 1-7. That's lofted out to center field. Terry Moore will flag it down for out number 2. So 2 away for Tommy Tatum. Again, he just has 6 at bats, so he's getting some playing time today. Bert Haas is normally playing center field, so he has the day off. So 1-6, and that's lofted out to center field as well. Moore will chase over to left center field, and he will catch it for the 3rd out of the inning. So Reds go in order in the second. We head to the home half of the second, still no score. Hey, Al, welcome. So Ewell Blackwell with his 2nd inning work will start off with Ron Northey, who is hitting .364 with a couple RBIs. Left-handed hitting right fielder. Yeah, I hope so, Gerald. I'm a long way from it. Again, in this replay, I'm playing every game, something I've always wanted to do. So this is game number 84, but I'm just on the 2nd Friday of the season. So 84, if I was doing a 1-team replay, I would be over halfway through. So, but again, this was kind of on my bucket list, and I'm enjoying it so far. So 6-5, and that's a strikeout. So Ewell Blackwell has struck out 3 in a row. Wave and a miss, strike 3. 1 away here in the bottom of the second. Artie Marion is hitting a .156, so he's off to a slow start. Right-handed hitting shortstop. Thanks, Gerald. That's a 2-8, and that's hit hard, but down to the 3rd baseman, Grady Hatton. He sets and throws across the infield for out number 2. Joe Garagiola is hitting .333. Of course, more famous for his career as a broadcaster than a player, but he actually wasn't a bad hitter. That's a 1-6, and he's going to draw a walk. So a 2-out walk for Garagiola, which will get the pitcher to the plate. So they can at least lead off with the leadoff hitter next inning. So Garagiola's not a threat to steal. Hearn hits at a 2W. Here's the pitch from Blackwell to his opponent is 2-7, and he strikes out. So strikeout number 4 for Ewell, and that will do it for the Cardinals in the second. As they do get a base runner, but they leave him on first. And we have played 2 here at Sportsman's Park. No score. Chuck Kress getting some playing time as well. He's 0 for 4. So one thing I'm noticing is I'm kind of letting the computer pick the lineups, and it's doing a pretty good job of, the settings I have is the regulars with rest, and it's doing a pretty good job of bringing in some players. I've made a few adjustments myself, but so far I've been impressed with it. It'll be interesting to see how it plays down the stretch, because I have it set to try to limit usage, not to completely block it. And again, especially doing as carded, I'm not doing as played, so it's a little bit more open-ended. But so far, I'm impressed with how the computer is, setting the lineup so far, overall. So again, Chuck Kress is 0 for 4 here early in the 1947 season. He gets a 5-8, and that's fly ball out to center field. Terry Moore, who is a fine fielder, will get to it for out number 1. Well, in the Gerald, in the National League, you got Kiner and Johnny Mize both hit 51 in real life, so I would say they're pretty good candidates for the home run race. And see, in the American League, I'm trying to think, there's nobody had quite that many. The MVP, I know in real life it was Joe DiMaggio and Bob Elliott, the third baseman for the Braves. So I don't know. I know Strat-O-Matic actually has, like awards that it rates. I probably will take that into consideration and then, make the final decision on my own when I get to that point. And I never do pitchers as MVPs. I feel like their awards, the Cy Young and the MVP, should go to batters. So that's kind of how I'll do it. But yeah, so far, Kiner has 5, Greenberg has 5, Bobby Thompson of the Giants has 5. He only hit 29 in the real life season. So, all right, so Ewell Blackwell is a 1W, so he's a fine pitcher, but not much of a hitter. That's a 3-6, but he hits a ground ball out to shortstop. Marty Marion will throw on to Musial for out number 2. Frankie Baumholtz lined out to Shane Deese to start the game. That's a 2-11, and that's popped up into foul ground. Garagiola will head back to the screen, and he will have room to put it away for the 3rd out of the inning. So Hearn doing a fine job against the Reds as they go down in order for the 2nd inning in a row. We go to the home half of the 3rd, still knotted at 0. Cardinals have the top of the lineup with Red Shane Deese. He singled and got as far as 3rd base in the 1st inning, but was stranded there when Karowski and Slaughter proceeded to strike out. 6-8, he's a lefty, and that's a fly ball out to center field. Tatum will get to it, take a few steps toward the infield, and squeeze it for out number 1. Terry Moore, he had a sacrifice bunt in his first at bat. righty versus righty. Terry Moore hitting .316 so far. He gets a .210, and that's fouled in foul ground. Over toward the third base dugout. Hatton will come over. Lamano is there, and he calls for it for the second out of the inning. So Terry Moore fouls out to the catcher, and that brings Stan Musial to the plate, who singled in his first at bat. Again, he's been out for, I think he was out for 3 games, I believe. Hey, Jim, welcome. Yeah, doing a little late night baseball. I had a good one on the table, and I thought I would put it on the channel. 212, and that's lined hard to the second baseman. Bobby Adams will. Oop. Yeah. This is one of those where they do the foul ball. I wish I could make it stop doing that, because again, I know the result from rolling the dice. So it's very anticlimactic to, when I already know what's going to happen. All right, so the Cardinals go in order. We've played 3 here. So we've got a pitcher's duel shaping up. Bobby Adams singled and got as far as second base in his first at bat, hitting .500. Again, his first 2 at bats of the season were back-to-back home runs. 4-9, and that's trouble. Got a 17 on the 20. So he hits that deep to center. That's going to be over the head of Terry Moore. It bounces to the wall, and Adams will chug around first, and he will slide into second with his second double of the season. So leadoff double for Bobby Adams. And the Reds are in business here in the 4th. Yeah, Jim, he was really tough on the righties. All right, so Grady Hatton will step to the plate with Bobby Adams on second. Adams runs at a 15. So I've never been one to bunt with a runner on second and nobody on first. So I'm going to let Grady hit away. Hopefully he can at least hit to the right side of the infield to advance Adams to third, but we will see. That's a 312, and he does hit it down to third, or to first baseman, Musial rather. And he'll take it to the bag himself. We have an error check, and Grady Hatton is going to be out for 3 days. So how about that? So it's 3 unassisted. He does advance the runner, and we have to find somebody to play third here in a minute. All right, so Eddie Miller will step up to the plate. He hit into a double play his last at bat. The Cardinals are going to play the infield in. So I guess they figure with Yoel Blackwell on the mound, they want to cut off this run if they can. Miller bunts at a C, so I'm not going to try a squeeze, I don't think. So here's the pitch to Miller. 5-5, and he's going to hit it deep enough to left field, and that will be deep enough. Slaughter will catch it, but Adams will be able to tag up and score, and the Reds are up 1-0. So good job by Miller. Actually, good job by the whole team. Grady Hatton advancing the runner on the ground out, and Miller sacrificing him home. That's the kind of baseball I enjoy. Sacrifice fly to 7. RBI, and the Reds are up 1-0. So 2 out, nobody on for Eddie Lucan, who grounded out in his first at bat. Here's the pitch from Hearn, and I missed the tower. 1-10, and that's hit hard, but down to the second baseman. Shane Deist plays it on 2 hops and throws on to Musial to end the inning. So the Reds jump out on top with a run. Just 1 base hit, no errors, nobody left. And I need to find a third baseman. Let's see. So again, I use Baseball Reference for about everything. So I'm going to look and see who played third. So Hatton, Kermit Wall played 20 games over there. So See if he's available. He is indeed. So we'll put him in at third. And we will head to the bottom of the fourth. The Reds up 1-0. All right, Ewell Blackwell given a 1-run lead. See if he can hang on to it here. Whitey Karowski, they've got 4, 5, and 6 due up. Karowski struck out the runners on first and third in his first effort of the game. Looking for his revenge here in his second at bat against Blackwell. It's a 6-12. He needs a 4, and he got a 6. So that might be an error check. I didn't look to see what his number was. Blackwell pitched 273 innings, so I don't think he was injured any, so we'll see what happens. As Karowski lines hard to short for out number 1. And he is not hurt, so Blackwell will continue on. All right, so that brings Enos Slaughter, who struck out as well, to end the first. Country Slaughter will take his hack here, 5-4, and that's a third base X. And wouldn't you know, the guy into the game, the ball finds him right away. He is a 318, which isn't too bad for a backup. But he gets a 3, so that's going to be a hit, and an 11, and he makes an error to boot. So an infield grounder, and Wall throws it away, and Slaughter will end up on second base. So we got a single plus an E5. And that'll bring Ron Northey to the plate. So we've got Slaughter, who runs at a 17. And of course, he's known for his mad dash in the 46 World Series. So Northey bunts is at a D, so they're probably not going to bunt. So we will keep the infield back. Northey struck out as well in his last at bat. 1 away, Slaughter on second base. That's a 3-6, and he needs an 8, and he got an 11. So he hit it hard, but couldn't find a hole, as Kress will field it for out number 2. So 2 away, and that brings Marty Marion to the plate. Marty Marion grounded out his first at bat, so clutch situation. His 311 turns to a single, so a little bit more of a clutch hitter. So a big at bat here for Blackwell, trying to hang on to that 1-run lead. That's a 311, and that's a clutch. So he found the clutch. How about that? So he lines it in between third and short. Lucan will play it on a couple hops, and the Cardinals have tied it up. So by some clutch hitting by Marty Marion. So Marty Marion is not a big threat to steal, so Kress will play behind him. Joe Garagiola walked his first at bat, so 2 outs. Marty Marion on first, who runs at a 13. Tries to get a lead and is not able to, so Garagiola will hit away. That's a 3-10, and that's trouble. So you're having some trouble here in the fourth. So Garagiola gets a 2. So he hits that to deep right center field. Nobody's going to get to that one. Bounces away from Tatum. Marion will score easily. Garagiola will slide into third. Here's the throw, and he's in with a triple. So how about that? So that's triple number 1 for Garagiola of the season. Thanks, Tony. I'm enjoying it too. Hoping for a little better from Ewell Blackwell here. That's, again, that was triple number 1 of the season for Garagiola, RBI. So he's on third, 2 out. For Hearn, who struck out in his last at bat, he's a 2W, so 2 away. Ewell trying to get out of this inning here with just the 2 runs. It's a 3-9, and that's grounded down to third as Hearn is late on a Ewell fastball. Kress will field it and toss on to Blackwell covering first, and that'll do it. But the Cardinals take the lead. 2 runs on 3 base hits. There was 1 error. They leave 1 on. We go to the top of the 5th. St. Louis 2, Cincinnati 1. Yeah, I think it was 3 triples in real life. When you think of Joe Garagiola, you don't think of triples, but he did have 2 or 3 that season. All right, so the Reds trying to get the lead back here in the top of the 5th. Lead off with Ray Lamano, who flew out. Yep, probably will need a nap after that one. All right, here's the pitch from Hearn. We get a 4-3, and that's lofted out to center field. A little looper. Moore will be able to charge toward the infield and get to it for out number 1. Tommy Tatum is 0 for 1. Hey, Michael, welcome. Actually, I'm replaying the whole year. It was kind of on my bucket list. I've been playing Strat since 1984, and I've always wanted to do an every game replay. And so that's what I'm tackling. So I've played, I think this is my 83rd game, but it's only like the 2nd Friday of the year. So far I'm enjoying it very much. And obviously it's going to be a pretty long project, but that's kind of what I'm aiming for. So far I've played every one, and it's been a lot of fun. Why Ebbets Field? Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't this is Sportsman's Park is where we're playing. All right, so Tommy Tatum with a fly out in his first at bat gets a 6-8. He needs an 8 for a single, got a 5, so that'll be a base hit. 6-8, got a 5 on the 20. That's a liner up the middle. So he's is a decent hand to steal, so the Reds will be holding him on. Stan Musial will. Let's see. 4-6, he gets a lead. I'm going to be a little risky here. My favorite player from this era. You know, that's a tough one because I'm actually enjoying a lot of them. Hank Greenberg, his last season, and he's playing with the Pirates, comes to mind. I'm enjoying him a lot. Ewell Blackwell is a lot of fun to watch. Musial had an off year. Of course, you got Ted Williams, who had I believe he won the Triple Crown this year. If not, he had an amazing year nonetheless. So just a lot of amazing players, and then I'm learning about guys who wasn't as famous as Ted Williams, who had very good years. The little card with the logo on it says it's Ebbets Field. Oh, okay. I forgot to change that. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, it's Sportsman's Park. The last game I put on the channel was at Ebbets Field, and I forgot. I changed the logos, but I didn't change the park, so I apologize for that. All right, so Tatum's going to hold it first as he's not able to get the lead. Chuck Kress with 1 out. Tatum runs at a 16, so he does have some speed. Here's the pitch from Hearn. That's a 1-10, and he's going to draw a walk. So, yeah, Gerald, it is a lot of fun, and so I have some teams that are my favorite. I'm obviously playing against the computer every game. I do most of the Reds games, but I'll switch it up just so I don't get too attached to one team. And I enjoy the Boston Braves. I like managing them. And again, anybody the Yankees are playing. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist too, Michael. It bugs me that I didn't catch that. All right, so we got runners on first and second. Ewell Blackwell at the plate. There's one out. He is an A bunter. They're doing the corners in. No, the Spiders were long gone by this point. They were back in before the turn of the century. So we're going to have Ewell Blackwell go ahead and bunt just to keep him from hitting to a double play. So he lays it down, and it's popped up. Krowski will get to it. He tries to double off the runner at first, but he's safe. So thankfully just a pop out to third on the bunt. So Ewell Blackwell not able to get the bunt down. So that'll leave runners on first and second and 2 out for Frankie Baumholtz. Oh yeah, the Browns are still around. They're actually, they become the Baltimore Orioles in 1954. So they were the Browns up till then. Yeah, they actually started out the season sweeping the Tigers at Sportsman's Park. So I was kind of rooting for them. They were actually not a very good team this year, but they got off to a pretty good start. Oh, that's cool, Gerald. You're doing the gems. Which is it, like any particular decade, or is it just a mixture of teams that you like? Well, with 40 teams, I'm guessing that's going to be a mixture because I don't think there's that many in each decade. All right, Frankie Baumholtz is not a clutch hitter. His 3, 2, 7, and 8 all turned to pop outs. So here we go. That's a 6-3, and that's a pitcher X. Hearn is a 4-8, so he doesn't have great range. So that's an 11, but he will get to that one. He gets a 15, but he commits an error, so that could be costly. So he's not able to catch it as it bounces back to him. He boots it, and the Reds have the bases loaded with 2 away. Okay, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I don't have any. The only Diamond Gems I have is the Negro Leagues, which I played a few barnstorming games with them, and I'd like to get back to that. But yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. All right, Bobby Adams, bases loaded, 2 out. He is not a clutch hitter either, as his 1-2, 1-12, 3, 5, and 6 all turned to pop outs. So here we go. Big at bat here in the top of the 5th. That's a 2-6, and he lines it to the third baseman to end the inning. So he hits it. Another one of those fake foul balls. All right, so again, lined hard to Krowski. Hearn gets out of the inning. So no runs, 1 hit, 1 error, 3 runners left on base. We go to the home half of the 5th. St. Louis still up by 1. So the Cardinals have the top of the order here to face Ewell Blackwell in the bottom of the 5th. Red Shane Deese is 1 for 2 so far. Switch hitting second baseman. I missed the tower, like I'm prone to do. That's a 5-6, and he will strike out, which doesn't happen often. Shane Deese only struck out 27 times in 659 at bats. So another thing about this 47 season that I really like is, not a mountain of strikeouts. So when you get them, they're kind of exciting because there's not every 2 at bats. So 1 away here. Terry Moore is 0 for 1 with a sacrifice. Right-handed hitting center fielder versus the right-handed throwing Ewell Blackwell. That's a 6-6, and he strikes out. So strikeout number 6 as Ewell Blackwell comes out throwing smoke here in the bottom of the 5th. Strikes out the first 2 batters he faces. Thanks for stopping by, Al. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Stan Musial, 2 out, nobody on. He is singled and lined out. 5-6, and he strikes out. So he struck out 24 times. So Ewell Blackwell strikes out the side, which doesn't happen very often in this season. Matter of fact, I don't believe it's happened at all. So again, he strikes out the side. And some fine hitters he struck out to boot. So after 5, the Reds are down by 1. So we got 3, 4, and 5 due up for Cincinnati here in their half of the 6th. We lost Hatton because he's injured. So I got to get his card out, and that Kermit Wall was into the game. So he's just had 1 at bat so far this year, and he's 0 for 1. Yeah, Gerald, overall, I think it was pretty close. I think over the whole league there was probably more strikeouts, but not by a lot. So, but it was pretty even. All right, so got to get Wall into the game here. Third base, he is a right-handed hitter. All right, so versus Kern. Again, this is just his 2nd at bat of the season. That's a 1-6, and that's a ground ball down to shortstop. Marty Marion will play it in the hole, set and throw. Out number 1. Eddie Miller has a sacrifice fly and a double play ground ball to his credit for the game. That's a 4-8, and that's going to be a single. So base hit here with 1 away. Gets a 10 on the 20. So he lines that past Karowski at third. Slaughter will play it on a couple bounces. Miller's on at first. So they're going to hold him on. Eddie Lucan is grounded out twice to Shane Deast. So we got Miller runs at a 12 on first base. Here is the pitch from Hearn. That's a 4-2, and that's a fly ball out to center field. A little rainbow, and more will get to it for out number 2. Ray Lamano, Cincinnati catcher, has flied out to Moore twice himself this afternoon. Just about all of the games in 1947 were day games. And this one is no different. 2-11, and that's grounded down to Karowski at third. And he will throw across. Actually, he'll go to second, so he'll give it to Shane Deast to get the force there for the third out. And the Reds failed to score here in the 6th. They do get a hit, leave a runner on. We go to the bottom of the 6th. St. Louis Cardinals 2, Cincinnati Reds 1. Whitey Krauski is 0 for 2. Right-handed hitting third baseman. Still hitting .333 for the season. That's a 5-5, and he strikes out. So strikeout number 8 of the game. And again, you don't see too many games where they strike out that many. So it's his 8th strikeout. And Enos Slaughter, who has been a strikeout victim, but he singled and scored his last at bat, in part to an error by Wall at third. That's a 6-5, and that's a strikeout. And Slaughter only struck out 27 times as well. But Ewell Blackwell is mowing them down. He has struck out 5 in a row now. Ron Northey is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Here is Blackwell looking to strike out the side for the 2nd inning in a row. And he gets a 6-8, and he will, Northey makes contact. It's a little lazy fly ball out to Tatum. Tatum waits for it to come down, and he will squeeze it for the 3rd out of the inning. So Cardinals go in order. We go to the top of the 7th. St. Louis still up by 1. Jim Hearn pitching a fine game. Will tackle the bottom third of the lineup. Tatum is 1 for 2 today. Here's the pitch from Hearn. That's a 3-5 and bounce back to the box. Nice reflexes by Hearn as he's able to glove it. Throw on to Musial for out number 1. Charlie Kress is walked and flied out. Again, he's getting the start today. Babe Young is normal first baseman, but he's getting the day off. 1-8. It's popped up on the infield. Krowski will wave everyone off and camp under it for out number 2. Will Blackwell is 0 for 2. He failed in a bunt attempt in his last at bat. He popped out to Krowski and almost was doubled off first. Thank you, Gerald. I appreciate you guys stopping by to watch. I love this hobby. So 1-7 and Yule will strike out. So the Reds go down in order in the 7th. 7th inning stretch time here in St. Louis. Time for our trivia question. In what year was the first All-Star game played? I believe that was 1933. Let's see how I did. In 1933 it was. That was kind of an easy one. All right, so bottom of the 7th, Marty Marion has an RBI single to his credit today. Yule Blackwell, his fatigue inning is 9, so a lot of complete games for everybody back then, but especially Yule Blackwell. That's a 1-6, and he slaps a single. Marty Marion, he lines it hard to Lucan in left. He plays it on a couple bounces, and the Cardinals have the leadoff runner on. Michael, I'm playing as carded, so and letting the computer kind of help with the lineups. So a little more open-ended. Usually my replays I do as played, but with Strat they don't do every card, and so actually and there's no way to get them unless you try to print them off of a card viewer or something like that. So for this one, I'm actually just doing as carded and then letting the computer help me with the lineups. And again, so far I'm very pleased. It does a good job. It's, I'm doing regulars with rest. So far I'm pleased. And it's a little bit more open-ended, so yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So, all right, Garagiola is up. Marty Marion, Kress is going to play behind him. He's going to try to get a lead. He needs a 3, and he's not able to get it. Garagiola bunts at a D, so I don't think he's going to try to bunt. Marty Marion runs at a 13. So they're going to let Garagiola swing away. So he had 2 triples this year in real life. And, of course, he had the first one of the replay last at bat. That's a 6-11. That's a right field X. Baumholtz is a 3-6 out there. So anything over a 7 he will get to on the 20-sided die. And he gets a 16, so he will get to it. And he got a 13, which is not an error. A 14 would have been a 2-base error, but Baumholtz will play some fine defense, and he'll get to that one for out number 1. Hearn steps to the plate. The pitcher, he's a 2W. He's a C bunter. We will play the corners in, of course, anticipating the bunt. He tries to bunt. Wall will field it at third and just barely get Hearn at first. So Hearn gets the sacrifice bunt down as Marion makes it to second. So 2 away with Marion at second base. Red Shane East is 1 for 3 with a strikeout and a single. So here we go. I don't think we want to intentionally walk him. He is a pretty good clutch hitter, however. His 1-7 and 2-9 turned to singles. We've already had 1 clutch hit today with Marty Marion. Here's the pitch to Shane East. That's a 5-3, and that's a pitcher X. Blackwell is a 115, so he will get to it, but he does have some error possibilities. As I lost the 20-sided die, but I always keep an extra one handy. So 3, so good defense. He did get to it, and that's a 6. So good job by Blackwell. That would have been a hit for most pitchers, but he's able to field his position and throw out Shane Deast to end the inning. So good glove work there as they get a hit and they leave a runner on. We go to the top of the 8th. St. Louis still up 2-1. Jim Hearn has the top of the order to deal with here in the top of the 8th. Baumholtz is 0 for 3. He reached on an error. 4-8, and that's going to be trouble. He hits that hard to right field. And that's going to be to right center. Nobody's going to get to that one. Northey will chase it down as it's in the gap. And Baumholtz will run into second base standing with his first double of the year. So he represents the tying run out at second. He had 32 doubles this year, and that's just his first. So the Reds are in business, so they're going to play the corners in for Bobby Adams, who's an A bunter. And again, I just don't like bunting with a runner on second. And nobody on first. If they're on first and second, I definitely would. But so let's see what happens here with Bobby Adams. 6-7, and he draws a walk. So the Reds trying to rally here just to get Ewell the win if they can. So the Reds get the first 2 runners on. For Kermit Wall, who again came into the game when Grady Hatton was injured. So he's a D bunter. See, now this would be a good situation to bunt. He's not a great hitter. He's a D bunter. They're playing the infield back, so I'm going to try to see if he can get one down. Let's see what happens. So he fouls it off. We got 1 and 2. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to stay with the bunt, see if he can get it down. Krasky will field it and looks at the lead runner, but ends up throwing it to first. So he is able to get the bunt down. So very, very good. So that'll put the tying run at third, the go-ahead run at second. 5-3 on the sac bunt. And that brings Eddie Miller to the plate. Eddie is 1 for 3. With a strikeout, so we got runners on second and third. The Cardinals are going to bring the infield in. So we're going to let Miller hit away. Big at bat here. Here's the pitch from Hearn. Right-handed hitting shortstop Eddie Miller. It's a 6-4. That's a third base X. And Krasky, who's a fine hitter, is not much of a fielder. So he is a 422. So we'll see if he's able to come up with it or not. That's a 16. So he does get to it. And he, man, 14, 15, 16, and 18 are errors, and he hit a 17. So he's going to make the play, and I think he's going to throw Baumholtz out at the plate, and he does. So big out for the Cardinals there. So Baumholtz gets gunned down trying to score 5-2. Adams makes it to third, and Miller's on with a fielder's choice. So big out for the Cardinals. As Krasky, who's normally not known as a fielder, makes a fine defensive play there. So Eddie Lucan is up. They're holding Miller on at first, so we're going to let him swing away. See if we can get Adams in from third, the tying run. That's a 3-7, and that's going to be hit hard, but right down to Musial at first. He'll take it to the bag himself, and the Cardinals dodge a major bullet. So no runs, 1 hit, no errors. They leave 2 on. And we go to the home half of the 8th. St. Louis still hanging on to a 1-run lead. So Ewell Blackwell has 2, 3, and 4 due up here in the 8th, trying to keep the deficit to 1 if at all possible. So Terry Moore, who is 0 for 2 with a sacrifice, will take his place in the box. That's a 5-6, and he strikes out. Strikeout number 10 for Ewell Blackwell. Again, 10 strikeout game is pretty rare. I think I've had one. I think Warren Spahn had a 10 strikeout game, if I remember correctly. That's one thing about Strat-O-Matic. They keep very good stats, so I can look that up if I want. Stan Musial is 1 for 3. Here is the pitch. That's a 3-8. He hits it hard, but down to the second baseman, Bobby Adams, who fields it cleanly, and he'll throw on to Kress for out number 2. Whitey Krowski with the fine defensive play last inning, which very possibly could save the game. He's 0 for 3 at the plate, however. That's a 1-6, and he lines a single to center field. So a 2-out base hit for Whitey Krowski. He is not a threat to steal. If he gets a 3, he gets a good lead. And they're going to try to get the lead. And here's the pickoff attempt. And he's back, not able to get the lead. So Enos Slaughter, who is singled in 3 plate appearances and struck out twice. He's only struck out 3 times all year and twice tonight versus Ewell Blackwell. That's a 2-9. And that's going to be, that's a clutch. But Karowski's not on second base, so the clutch won't apply. So that'll be just a harmless fly ball out to Baumholtz and right. And that'll do it for the Cardinals in the 8th. Top of the 9th. Reds down by 1. They've got 7, 8, and 9 due up. Or 6, 7, 8, and 9 rather. Jim Hearns pitched a fine game, looking to get his first win. He's got a 1.59 ERA so far for the year, counting today's festivities. So he'll start with Lamano, who is 0 for 3. Here is the pitch. That's a 1-2. That's bounced back to the box. Hearn will field it. Throw on to Musial. 1 away. So we got Tatum. So I think we're going to start doing some pitch hitting here, perhaps. So we're going to bring Augie Galan, who normally is a starting left fielder. They picked him up from Brooklyn. He was with Brooklyn last year. So he will take his place in the box. He's a switch hitter, so he will be hitting lefty versus Hearn. He's hitting .372 with 8 RBIs. The Reds will bring in the big guns to try to get something going here in the top of the 9th. Here is the pitch from Hearn. That's a 1-6, and Galan will draw a walk. So the tying run on first base, and Chuck Kress is 0 for 2 with a walk. Galan is not a threat to steal. He does run into 13, however, so we'll keep him out there because 13 is pretty good speed. Here is the pitch, and that's a 4-3. Oh, yeah, hit hard down to third, or to first rather, and I hit the wrong button, so I'm going to have to undo that. Strat, that's my favorite button, as I didn't get the right roll in the computer, so we'll undo that. Try it again. So we rolled a 4-3. So that's a hard ground ball down to Musial. He fires on to Marty Marion. Galan tries to take out Marion, not able to do so. And that's a 3-6-3 game-ending double play. So had a fine pitching duel. Ewell pitched very well, but not well enough for the victory. Look at the box score here after I get this in the book. The Reds get 1 run on 5 hits, 1 error. The Cardinals get 2 runs on 7 base hits, 1 error. The Reds leave 7 on, while the Cardinals leave 6. Ewell Blackwell takes the loss to go to 1-1, still with a fine 2.33 ERA. Jim Hearn gets the win to go 1-1, and he has a 1.50 ERA. The Reds are 6-6. The Cardinals go to 5-5. So so far in the National League, it's a pretty tight race. I think the best, the Giants are 7-4. They're leading the league, and the Phillies are 4-7 to draw up the rear. So there you have it. So a good game here from Sportsman's Park. Even though the Reds lost. Again, one good thing about playing every game is that you don't have a dog in the fight as much as when you're doing one team. So sometimes that can be frustrating when you're doing a team and they're not playing well. So anyway, I appreciate it very much, and I will see you next time.